Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first session of Envision Weekly Live Webinars. My name is Burcu, and I'm the VP of System Engineering Customer Success at Canvas GFX. I'll be guiding you through today's session. These interactive sessions will be designed to guide you through the key tools and workflows available in Envision Portal as well as in Envision Creator. And my goal is to enable you to create and manage digital work instructions more efficiently and seamlessly. Today's session, we will focus on 3D visualization techniques. We will cover how to import a step file, work with the 3D viewer UI, and create detailed 3D exploded views and some annotations related to the parts and subassemblies in the model. So let me start sharing my screen, and hope everybody is seeing my screen. Let's go to our agenda for today. We will spend the first 20 minutes with a live demo of key features and functionalities, and I will reserve 20 minutes for a QA at the end to ensure I will answer your questions in real time. So feel free to drop your questions into the chat at any time. Before we get started, I would like to remind you that we will be here every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, covering new topics each week to help you the most of your trial experience. So for those that are brand new to our platform, let me go ahead and share some introductions to our platform. Let me go ahead and turn on the next slide. So Envision is an instructional authoring platform that helps our customers to efficiently create digital step-by-step work instructions. As you can see on my slide, it includes a web-based creator application with an intuitive UI that simplifies the authoring process. We will go through some of the details today for the 3D views. And our customers can also take advantage of our SDKs to embed the creator application into other systems such as PLM, MES, or LMS, which is the learning management system. In the case of PLM integrations, the CAD data can be directly imported from the single source of truth, and the creator will be notified if there are any changes to the models. So the documentation can sustain the changes in the documentation with the 3D view updates as well as animations. And our platform also includes an easy-to-manage document management portal with admin settings, user privileges, and document permissions, review, and sharing features. Like the creator application, the portal can be embedded into other systems, allowing users to access documentation from more widely used systems like MES or ERP. Documentation can be viewed or during or after the creation in a browser, any modern browser environment, for an interactive consumption experience. The 3D models will be interactive for the end user experience. And featuring customizable dialog prompts, 3D models, as I just mentioned, and layer actions for languages or different types of data that needs to be overlaying on the same page for different types of visual learners or bilingual or trilingual workforce. The viewer application can also be embedded into various digital threads in an organization. We offer SaaS version of Envision through AWS and Azure cloud services. Alternatively, we can also host Envision on our customers' private cloud or on-premise infrastructure based on our customer needs. So right now, I'm going to dive into the live demo section of our today's session. Let me start switching my screen to another Envision documentation. So this is a document that I already created in the past. I will show you the finished version of it. But what we're going to do today is we're going to create an exploded view for this gear pump that we're going to import together as a step file. And we'll go through some of the features and functionalities for the 3D viewer on how to create those exploded views and isolated views in our documentation. So first step is to bring a 3D model. You have the UI at the top, the Home tab, Ribbon tab. Either from the Home tab or from the Insert tab, you have the 3D model. And if you click in the 3D model, you will have 3 different options. And for step files, IGS files, JT, or NX type of files that has one file to import the model, we prefer the first method of bringing that model to a Canvas Envision creator. So let's click on this option over here, and it will take me to my directory. And this is where I'm going to select this assembly and hit open. And what this is going to do is bringing that file for me. And we're going to have a dialog box opening in here as import options. A couple of things that are important in here. If the model has a lot of bigger parts and smaller parts, in terms of the performance speed, we might need to play with the tessellation quality. Otherwise, we just leave it as medium as default settings. In Canvas, we do a lot of benchmarking performance customizations in the backend. So usually the default settings are the best settings in normal models and normal scenarios. But again, if you're seeing that the performance is slower than expected, then you could definitely play with the tessellation quality. The bilayer geometry, we use it as default. It's part of the CAD model import option. If you don't want to use it for any reason, you could definitely uncheck the box, the square box over here. We'll talk about the 3D model fit to page functionality. This is basically how the 3D model comes in a bit depending on what size of the layout that we want to bring it to our Canvas Envision page. Again, you could definitely make it customizable here, or you can simply leave it as default if you don't know how big is the model that you're bringing in and how does it look on the page. And in terms of the PMI data, this is where it's important to understand if your data has any kind of PMI product manufacturing information. PMI stands for product manufacturing information that is embedded in the CAD file by engineers or anyone in the organization when they're designing these products. You might need to check the box to be able to bring that data and expose it for the creators or the technical writers to use it in the documentation creation process. And we have some related settings for that PMI data, depending on the color that was in the CAD model. Again, I would uncheck these as best practice. And if you needed to manipulate it, we can re-import the model. But as I said, usually the default settings are the optimized settings for our customers. One thing that I wanted to mention in here is use settings for the same session. If you're bringing models, different models into Canvas Envision, you can check this box to use these settings for the same session. One thing that I wanted to explain in here, in Envision, we usually bring the model, the CAD data once to our creator environment. And any view that we create from this model will be derived from that first import by copy and paste action, or Control-C or Control-V action that we kind of covered in the first session of this series. Because with the same import, all these views that we create with the copied version of the same import will be linked in the back end of our technology. And when the model changes, we only update one path. And with that path, all those related 3D views and animations will be updated on the fly. In any case, in any scenario, you have pages from 1 to 10 that you want the model to be updated, but you have a variation that you're creating it for a different product that you know the first 10 steps are the same, but step 11, page 11 and forward are different. In that case, you want to bring the model again. Otherwise, if you're creating an assembly for the same product and you have just different versions, over the product lifecycle, then we import the model only one time into Canvas environment. This is extremely important, and I wouldn't emphasize this enough for my customers to make sure you don't have to import the model again. And one of the reasons that we did it this way is also keep the file size minimum, because we import the model once. And if you realize that if you're importing the model 2 times, you will see the file size is going to get bigger and bigger as you import models again and again. However, If you just simply do copy and paste, that wouldn't be the case. Again, all those views are linked in the backend with the same import path and with the same import size of the model. Okay. So now we covered these details. I'm just going to click OK. And what this is going to do is going to process bringing that 3D model for us. In this case, it's a SolidWorks assembly, but I will show you guys another example with the step file as well throughout this session. And then we'll just basically go through different 3D view functionalities. If you're seeing a dialog box like this is just a warning. It's telling that in my assembly file, some of the parts are missing. It's just a warning. You can just check this box out, and our model will be in the center of our canvas that we're working on in terms of the documentation. So if you remember that 1080 pixel by 1080 is this box that I was just mentioning. And as you guys can see, my units in this documentation seems like they are pixels. But again, we talk about this in the first session. We could definitely change that to be inches or millimeters or centimeters from the layout tab if needed. But in this documentation, it is the pixels that I used. To be able to change anything with the 3D models in Envision, you have two ways of going to the 3D view edit window. One is right-click on this 3D box while it is selected and go into the edit option over here from the right-click menu, contextual menu, or you can go to the 3D ribbon and just say edit 3D model. I know it sounds like we're editing the 3D model, which is not the case. We're just editing the view of the 3D model of how our consumers will be seeing that model from in that specific step. Okay, so this is what you guys are going to see. It will be opening a 3D view over here. And what we wanted to do is turn on a couple of things. One is the assembly 3, which will give us the bill of material. We call it assembly 3 in Canvas Envision. As you guys can see, I have my parent file over here, as well as all the parts under in this assembly. And below that, I have some embedded CAD views in this model that I can simply click on, for example, normal view, front view. And in some cases, what you guys will be seeing in this case, the top of the model shows this way. Again, this is how it's been designed in the CAD application. But if it is something that you wanted to change, what we do is we click on the 3D properties checkbox. While nothing is selected, you can go all the way down to the world orientation and change that to be, I believe, white plus. Let's try that. There you go. So now, if that's what we were looking for, having the top part of this model is that, as you guys can see, our navigation cube will show the top of the model. If you want to change this, nothing is selected, means no part is selected. If you select the part, you will see that your screen will show that in the kind of like yellowish color is default. Again, that can be changed. And on the left-hand side in the bottom of your screen can show what part is selected. If you don't want to select anything, you can either click on the white area or you can just simply hit escape from your keyboard to release the selection pick mode, which is the left mouse button click action. Okay, so let's do this. We have the model and we have, we believe is the right view, the top, the front, the right, the back of the model, which makes sense in this case, and the left of the model. And any kind of views, we'll go through this in another session in terms of explaining creating projected views in Envision. However, again, if you want to turn on the assembly 3 as well as the 3D properties, they're under the view tab while this is open for us. Check the box of assembly 3 and the 3D properties over here. Let's go to the 3D edit ribbon tab while we're, because we want to create some exploded views. One thing that I want to mention in Envision, if you want to select a part, you use the left mouse button click to select any part, and you will see it will register in the assembly 3 for us. So let me actually bring this you could do, when you click on this little arrow over here next to the assembly tree, you can move that to left top, which what I wanted to do. This is more something that I'm used to, but some of my customers, they actually like to move them on each side, left to the assembly tree, right to the 3D properties. Again, different preferences, different options. You can also technically move it back there and again, move it back to the right-hand side as a different pane. While the part is selected, 3D properties will show the settings of that part. A couple of things in here. As I mentioned in our previous sessions before, we do not change the integrity of the CAD data. That's not something that Envision is created for. So the bill of material and the part names will become, we cannot change it as creators. However, one thing that we can change while the part is selected is the color of that part. Again, we have some preset colors over here, and you can definitely add your marketing colors under the standard colors area, and as well as the opacity of that part. This is basically part of our ghosting functionality, but you could definitely change the opacity of the part to make it see-through, or if you guys can see that if I make it 100% opacity, which is not opaque, you cannot see through the inside of that part, inside of that cover. But if I change opacity to something less percentage, I could definitely see it through. Again, this is something that with the selecting the part and from the 3D properties. We recently added a feature for appearances. You can actually make the, let me actually make this one so we can see it better. Make the parts in different appearances. Like if I click on that part, I can show you more options: aluminum, chrome, copper, gold, silver, steel, plastic, and glass. And we're definitely waiting on more feedback from our customers. As you guys can imagine, this is pretty much very unique to each workflow on how to visualize the models a little bit more realistic. So, but that it is something that we definitely took action on how to work on it. So I'm just going to make this red as a 3D view CAD visualization. So if you want to move the model in any environment, holding the middle mouse key is the panning the model. What we're going to do is we're going to move the model a little bit towards the right, so we have more space. And if you want to zoom out, you can use the middle mouse button towards the screen, zoom out, towards yourself, zoom in. We have other functionalities like you see at the bottom of this corner that you can simply create different percentages, and you have a zoom rectangle zoom icon over here that you can drag an area to zoom in on a specific area that in the model that you wanted to see. And anytime you want to go back, if you remember from our first session or the second session, Control Z will take you to undos in the 3D viewer as well. So I hit escape to release my cursor from the zoom icon. Now what we're going to do is there are different ways of exploding a model. Under the 3D edit view, we have the explode function. This is something that our customers widely uses to show all the parts in an assembly for their end user. And we definitely have different features and functionalities to make this as easy as possible during the creation of these exploded views. So one thing that I could share that is very easy and straightforward, just do Control A, which is selecting all the parts. Or you can simply click on the parent at the top of the parent assembly. It will select all the parts, and you guys can see that it selects all my parts in my assembly. And you guys can see on the left-hand side, 25 of my parts are selected at the same time. So if I click on the explode feature, we do have the first option is the linear explode. That will give us a 3D three-axis icon, like the widget that we can actually select the axis that we want to explode this model, these parts along. And if I select, for example, the Z-axis, I can move these parts, all parts at the same time along the Z-axis to create the exploded view. So for example, something like this, obviously it creates a pretty cool view, but it is not something that gives the visibility to all the parts that we wanted, especially in terms of the sequence that we want to disassemble this gearbox model. In that case, we select the main cover, for example, And while the model is selected, you can push it along in the explode mode. You can actually explode the parts one by one, or you can explode multiple parts, all the parts at the same time, or multiple parts. Like this, for example. So we know that the gearbox housing needs to be at the back, and whereas the cover is front, and all the other parts in the sequence that we're trying to disassemble or showcase these parts together. So for example, the gears, we know they usually go along at the same time, depending on the assembly. So if you wanted to push that along in the same area as the other gear is, you could definitely select it and push it along the axis that you wanted to select. One thing that I want to mention, if you want to move two parts at the same time in the exploded views, holding the shift key, select the second part, and then we will use this time the translate transformation. And you guys can see we will have a little bit different 3D axis view in this case, and we can definitely move the gears along that selected axis, which is the axis in my case that we wanted to create. So perfect. And I'm going to move this shaft a little bit front so it's a little bit more clear. And if you wanted to just basically capture this view, we can click on save, which is going to create this view with the model that we imported. It will just basically save it over how the model came into our Canvas Envision environment. If you do save new, it will leave that alone. It will keep that as default, and it will save this view as a secondary view. So you don't have to do copy and paste if you wanted to use that view again. So I can simply do save new, and if you want to just exit and don't take these actions into account, then we can just simply exit from the 3D view, which will be the view that we imported the model initially. Okay, I'm just going to click on save because that's the reason that I brought the model. So you guys can see my bringing the model will become now the updated exploded view that I created. So we can push this on the side. And now we're going to create some annotations for these parts. So I'm going to resize this box holding the left corner of this box. Again, you can make it as small as you like. And I just basically pushed it there. Let me just delete this guy. That was an artifact in the background. So let me just make it a little bit more smaller. There you go. Awesome. So to take the parts in 3D, while the model is selected from the 3D ribbon contextual menu, you have number annotations, which is 1, 2, 3, uppercase, lowercase. We have data annotations, which is mostly used feature in Envision. And if you drop down this menu, you have instance name, which is the name of the part. Or if you go to custom, this is where you can actually utilize the PMI data that comes with this 3D model inside of this assembly. So let's go ahead and in this case, select the instance name. And the first option we have, as you guys can see, I'm going to start from the gearbox housing. And then the next one will be, if I select this again, the next one will be, spur gear ISO. And if you want to just keep annotating without releasing the feature, what we need to do is once we select the data annotation and instance name, as you guys can see over here, we have a functionality called retain tool. You will see this icon in a lot of places in Envision to keep that feature for different parts or different objects again and again. And please make sure you select that, and that round box is going to turn into gray color. And it means that now I can keep selecting parts to annotate these different parts instead of selecting that feature from the ribbon again and again. So now all I'm doing is basically clicking on the parts from the 3D model, and I'm just basically creating the annotations for each part for my end users to see what the part names are without even going to the 3D view in the documentation. One thing that I want to mention, the 2D annotations are customizable. Creation of the 2D annotations are linked to the 3D model, which you don't have to go back to 3D viewer, see the bill of material and type it yourself. So that feature, when we click on it, it highlights the 3D model, is still linked. However, as soon as you register the 2D annotations, that link gets broken and it becomes a text object. So now you can actually if your engineers just, give it a name that is like not necessarily for the operators to see it that way, you could definitely customize these annotations as you need it, like this, for example. Awesome. I'm going to do a couple of more, and we'll be, you guys can see, and anything in terms of the font related, if you want to type something, at that point, it becomes a text box. The contextual ribbon tab will open. Will give you, if you want to change the font size, the font type, and any other settings related to those in the Canvas Envision documentation. If we update these text boxes, the part list we're going to create, we're going to learn this in another session, that we're going to create in the future will be different than what we type in here, because as I said, the link is broken at that point. But this part will be generated with the part names coming from the bill of material. So if you are creating, if you're manipulating those names, you will need to do both in the annotations as well as in the part table. However, the part list is going to give you a nice, easy created feature in terms of seeing the parts directly from the bill of material instead of going back and forth with the bill of material environment and the 2D view that you create in the Envision documentation page. Awesome. So I'm going to pause in here, and I don't see any questions. What I want to do, I wanted to go back to my initial document, my slides, just to give you a quick overview on what we covered today. We covered in terms of the 3D features, exploded views, as well as the annotations that we do with that exploded views parts in 2D, and workflows on how to create these and how to manipulate those annotations in 2D environment. So just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. And don't forget, this is just another session that we covered to get together. Next Wednesday, we will be bringing a static documentation into Canvas Envision, and we're going to convert that to a digital document, EVDoc, and we will basically replace a couple of images with a 3D model like we did today. We will practice bringing video file to Canvas to make that static file more a file that is more the end users can visually engage, and as well as create 1 or 2 3D views in that to replace the image that we have in that static documentation. Thank you all so much for listening today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next webinar. Have a great day.